the weirdos and crackheads on the Twitterverses and the YouTubes that don't like me, who think, oh, he's just some toxic man, baby. It's always crying and complaining is what they say. And you have to concede that I was right. I was correct again. I mean, that kind of has been par for the course. I know this is how a lot of definitely people that are raging advocates of social justice and more so want like art and entertainment to be reflective of that, or rather represent their personal social views and political statements that they want to make. They don't want what we think to be true. So they'll gaslight. So they'll make it seem as if you're over exaggerating. They'll make it seem as what you see just simply is not there. And sometimes we get the beauty of what we're going to be discussing there. And I mean, I'm using that term lightly, beauty only in the sense that it just highlights what it is that I've been saying. And sometimes they just outright just up and admit what it is that I've been claiming. So you have to concede that I'm right, no matter how much of a toxic man, baby, that you may think myself or guys like myself who've simply been calling this out for years. Now, the He-Man upcoming, the Masters of the Universe, Revelations, that seems to be a bait and switch. I was looking at the animation, and I remember talking about it on Twitter back before I was suspended. And I was like, oh, this doesn't look like it sucked. And it did turn out that it was going to be a bit of a bait and switch in terms of who was going to be the focus of the show. But what we got here, hilariously enough, is race swaps that are within the animated setting. Now, let me make this clear. That makes no sense. So now, yet again, you have another argument that you have to retire. Because when we see tokenization from comic book to live action setting, so whether it be a character that was, and usually in this, look, there's different types of tokenization. The one I'm speaking in regards to right here is the one that goes, okay, character, let's say, is white, fair skin in the comic book. You do a live action depiction and the character is not that. And they would say when it's in a live action, you hear a bunch of different things. Well, they were the best person for the job, possibly. This guy's a great actor, or she's a great actress. They were the best person for the job. Is what they like to think that that's the case. Never mind the fact that Hollywood doesn't operate like that. If you understand how castings work, they look for a specific person. Generally, they have a certain person in mind. And when they send out like the little casting call or whatever, usually it'll be reflective of that. It'll say, hey, I need a guy that's around this height, looks like this. This is how it works. It includes race. But you can't use that excuse anymore when they're doing it also in the animated setting. So it makes no sense. They do it in an animated setting. It makes no sense whatsoever to do that unless, again, it's just outright trying to be blatant with the tokenization. So I'm going to read something right here that came from Bound to Get in Comics, and we'll just get to it. Let's go ahead and just get right into it. Netflix director claims King Grayskull and Andre Race swapped in Masters of the Universe Revelations because new characters could be easily rejected. Oh, this is just gold, man. This is so gold for me because it's like God just like is like, all right, guys, he's right. So I'm just going to show you about as blatant as I could be that, of course, the guys, Erics of the world, are just correct in their assessment of how tokenization works when we talk about our like geek and nerd culture stuff. In response to a fan who complained about the race swapping of characters in Kevin Smith's upcoming Netflix-produced Masters of the Universe Revelations series, which has thus far seen Bavandra and King Grayskull changed in such a way from their original forms. Netflix director of original series Ted Biaselli has revealed that the production team made the decision to alter two characters out of fear that new characters could be easily rejected. That's fucking funny. Oh man. In leaked panel, it is revealed that in this continuity, King Grayskull, the historical ruler of Eternia, whose power fuels Prince Adam's transformation into He-Man is now a black man. This version of King Grayskull can also be seen in the series Masters of the Universe Revelations trailer, standing behind an untransformed Prince Adam as a member of the Guardians of He, alongside Guardians Hero and Miko. Shortly after this news broke, it was shared to the shared wall of private Facebook He-Man and She-Ra fans. Shadow Weaver's Realm, he says, I prefer someone. So basically, it's actually a black person that was in the group. So a black person, right? It's not just, they like to think, again, with the gaslighting, toxic man babies that are white males are the only ones that have complaints about tokenization. But this was an actual black fan, a black member of the group, who said, I prefer making new, unique black characters and race swapping originally white characters. Sounds like literally verbatim of something that I've said. Says, instead of wearing your own shirt, you're getting a hand-me-down shirt and shirt from someone else, added the fan. Guy clearly watches my videos. And a saying in the screenshot provided to Bounding in the Comedy by YouTubers Ninja Knight. So this right here is it. Which is what Tim Bland had to say about it, and he's right. He's completely right. Like that's what happens. It's a hand-me-down. All the people that love the snap, yeah, slay when they see some idiot actor or actress play some white character, they like to think of it as victories. You see, like for example, the chick that plays Iris West. They love to champion her. They make stan accounts. You're not Iris West. You're just Iris West in name. And the fact you even took that role, as far as I'm concerned, makes you a fucking loser. But I get it. And that's probably too harsh of terms, but you get what I'm saying. They could easily decline those roles. They don't decline those roles because they're interested in advancing their own careers. But the people that eat this stuff up like to think, well, look at us. We're doing something positive for the black people, right? As they only get hand-me-downs and you don't get original characters. So if you tied yourself so much to your race, and then on top of that, the characters that you end up getting aren't even fucking original. They're just black versions of white characters. And you think you want something. So Tim right here is correct. But continuing on. Oh, shit. I done fucking messed that up. My bad. Butchered that. Anyway, but no, it says the fans' complaint was also met with a response from Biaselli, who went on into detail. He says, I hear you. This is, again, I guess I hear you said Biaselli, so the director. And that will indeed be a part of our story, too. But a big hurdle when you're introducing a new character to align so many well-established characters is that they are bound to be outsiders and harder to accept as canon. At least for a while, nobody gives a shit about Sir. All right, so this is what Ted had said. So you're seeing it right now. We asked ourselves early on about the need for two giant white blonde dudes in the Pantheon. And honestly, it makes both characters less special. And no. That's how they were. Okay? That's how they were. So just fucking leave them that way. They were made like that. People definitely, when you're looking at visual mediums, better where they got into it by way of a comic book, or they got into it by way of whatever. That's how they were. So just fucking leave them that way. Leave them that way. I wish I could take the credit for being the one with the idea to make Grayskull black, because now in the history of all champions, of Grayskull as a black man has a role of prominence. No, it's not a role of prominence. It's a tokenization. So we know how someone originally looked, and then you just race swap them. That's not putting them into prominence. You're attempting to do that, but what it is if anything, is stolen valor and line skipping. Because we know that's not the legitimate one, and we know that's not how it was originally intended. But this is what they are saying. This is what they are. So, and it is because now in the history, blah, 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 as opposed to the guy, as opposed to just being the guy with the clamp, reference to Clamp Champ, the only black character to receive an action figure in the original toy line, which, yeah, could you have expanded upon Clamp Champ? Sure you could have. but you didn't. That's not what you wanted to do. Instead, what you wanted to do was just race swap. But see, the thing that I like about this is that all it does is amplify everything that I've said about this particular topic. And that is, they do that for the sake of line skipping and for the sake of being lazy. Because is the person incorrect when they say, well, it's going to be harder for them to accept maybe an original new character? Yeah, that's how it works, dude. And this is what talented writers, patient writers, and creators and creatives are able to do. It doesn't happen overnight. You're talking about characters that have decades upon decades of building. But the thing about that's different from this day and age from in the past, it's as easy as well, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's way easier than what it was in the past to have new characters and original characters catch on, no matter what the race is. Why? Because we have the aspect of social media. And whereas you had to try to put someone in, in this comic book, hope someone talks about it, and now it's one post, and now everybody knows who the character is. It's that fucking simple. Now, is it going to catch on? It's a completely different subject matter, but the exposure to the character is easier than what it's ever been done. This is why tokenizations in this day and age are absolutely no excuse. You could maybe make an argument for all of the tokenizations that we got back in the gap. But now there's no excuse. There's too many creative people, albeit they may not work for these companies, too many creative people for you to be doing this. All this does is prove what it is that I've said. And they just the director just flat out admitted. Well, maybe it wouldn't catch on. It wouldn't catch on if we gave him an original character. So we just wanted a race swap. That's what I've been saying y'all been doing. You're lazy. You're talentless hacks. So this is what you do to try to make the statement. You try to give them a hand-me-down. And it was, and this is a double whammy because obviously they can't hide this one. Like they at least try to hide it, albeit through gaslighting, with the whole, it's different universe, it's best actors for the job, all of that sort of dumb shit that they say when it happens in live action. But now it's happening in an animated setting. So that makes no sense to do it in an animated setting, unless you're just trying to be open and blatant with what it is that you're doing. And that's what they did. So I know the folks that, again, like to call us little toxic man babies who call this out. I think what happens here is that they don't like us being correct. See, yeah, to coddle your little emotions, it sounds very good for you, the pig consumer, the one that just digests anything it is that, or rather eat anything it is that they'll give you. And definitely when it comes in the form of a social statement that you personally agree with, you'll accept it every single time. There are those of us who are connected to this stuff that don't give a shit about any of that. We just want accurate depictions of what it is that we say. Now, can you tell new stories based on them? Can you introduce new characters? Of course. But race swapping, definitely in a visual medium of all thing, where you talk about stuff like comics and like in this aspect, toy lines and stuff like that, stuff that we see, right? We can't, it's not like a novel or something where it's just words, right? We see it. It's a visual medium. So, of course, people are going to expect some sort of accuracy. But when you consider the climate that we're in, everything that they do now is based upon what kind of statement that they can make. And they are admitting it here. The director's admitting it here. So when we say this or we do these videos, all of your non-arguments have been neutered. They've long been neutered. I've provided many examples of it, but they're becoming more blatant as more people who are even accepting it for a while, more people are starting to realize, okay, this shit is getting old because there's zero development on original characters. And when they original like characters, let's say that are not of the white male, blonde, whatever. And this is the funny thing, which again, I've also mentioned many, many times. The reason why those characters generally seem fleshed out more isn't because they're white, isn't because they're blonde. That has nothing to do with it. It just is in the simple fact that, well, because they're white and they have blonde hair, There's no social ill that they can fall back on. So what happens is the writers are forced to have to see that for what it is and just come up with the most creative story they possibly can. But that's not what happens when you get these other characters generally. If they're female, well, we have to have some predictable story arc about how they're struggling with their femininity. If they're black, we have to find, and by struggling with the femininity, I mean like, okay, woe is me, I'm a woman. Same thing can be said if they're black. Got to have some long, drawn out, predictable story arc of them struggling with race. Usually it has to do with the police. It's predictable. Every single black character in mainstream comic books has basically went through it. See, those are lazy. Those are you trying to take and directly adapt, let's say, what's happening or what you think to be happening at a large degree in the real world and just copying it and pasting it. Whereas to the other characters, generally the white characters, there's none of that exists for them. So they have to go into it with a mind like, okay, well, there's no social will to fall back on. I just have to be as creative as possible. And that's why they feel fleshed out. Has nothing to do with because they're white and blonde. It's more of the fact that the how they approach those characters is completely different than what they have. I had a guy email me the other day, completely unaware of my material, just saw that I was a black person. I'm going to end on this note. I know this segment's going on. Just saw that I was a black person that talked about comics. So they wanted to promote their own comic books, which I'm not against that. If you have your own personal work, you can send that stuff to my P.O. box. You can send that stuff to my email. And if I can get around to it, I'll check it out. If it's original work and stuff. But this is what the person led with. Matter of fact, I want to read it. I'm not going to show it because I don't want to out them. But I'm going to read this real quick. Let me pull it up. Matter of fact, let's just pull it up on my phone. And I want to read it. And I'm not even joking right now. This is what the person sent me. And when you send me stuff like this, why on earth would I want to promote your work? So the person, I'm an independent comics writer. Have written a few comic books. Wanted to know if you want to do advertisements or anything like that. And this is what the person says. I am trying to build up a fan base where my comic books are about diversity and the struggles of African, Asian, Hispanic, Americans, European Americans even, experience in the Bay Area. Okay. So basically, you led with that. You led with that. Like, that's the first thing that you sent me. Now, again, that shit might work on probably some fucking Marvel. Marvel will probably buy up the books and buy off the rights and the properties and all that. But see, that's what I'm talking about, though. And like, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. It's not organic. You're telling me you're leading with that. So everything that, is basically coming from your work is by way of some sort of social effort that you're trying to push. I don't want to read that shit. I'm not interested. But that's the difference. But either way, what you can't say, and I know that's kind of aside from the point, these guys, be it in Hollywood, be it in current mainstream comic books, they do this shit, and it's an effort that they actually go out of their way to do. It is not an accident. It's not the best person for the job. None of that shit exists. It's that we think that there is a demographic of people who will be appeased by the tokenization. So we do the tokenization. Simple as that. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.